UFC Vegas 68 is set for this Saturday, and the main event is a heavyweight bout between Derrick Lewis and Sergey Spivak. In this video, I am going to take a brief look at Derrick Lewis's history of severe, debilitating back pain. And stick around to the end. I'll be talking about another UFC champion who is dealing with his own injury. Hey, it's Kevin on MMAInjury. I'm a physical therapist and a fight fan, and I am your source for analysis of fighter injuries, rehabilitation, and return to competition. In the first video I posted on my channel, I talked about the return of Jessica Andrade, a fighter who chose to have surgery to address her severe lower back problem. In today's video, I will take a look at Derrick Lewis's history of severe, debilitating back pain, which he has seemingly gained control of without surgery. Derrick's last fight was canceled at the last moment when he was set to face this same opponent, Sergey Spivak. The stated reason was at that time a medical issue rather than a physical injury. This was later clarified to be stomach issues, and Lewis was hospitalized, I believe, briefly. So at least initially there was some concern for him and the severity of his stomach issues or whatever was going on. But from what I gather, the hospitalization wasn't long at all, and he was cleared fairly quickly to fight again. Lewis stated on earlier this week, Tuesday I believe, in his media day interview, that he actually had COVID. That was the reason for the fight cancellation. But again, jumping to the history of back pain, anytime Derrick fights, I can't help but think back to the year of 2017 when he was having major issues with his back, specifically lower back pain. This was a debilitating problem for him, and at the time he had stated he had completely lost his ability to move side to side as he was fighting Mark Hunt, a fight that he ultimately lost. And that issue with his lower back pain persisted and caused cancellation of his next fight versus Fabricio Verdum. He ultimately underwent treatment with injections, probably epidural steroid injections, to help the lower back pain, and this was successful for him. So this lower back problem really hasn't been, as far as we know, a huge issue since 2018 or 2019. I guess I should say a fight canceling issue for him since then. But it's still something that's always in the back of my mind whenever he fights. This takes me back to the recent fight cancellation back in November. At first, the word was that he was hospitalized with a stomach issue. Then more recently, Derrick said, as I mentioned earlier, he had COVID, and that was the reason for the fight cancellation. Then there are these pictures that have been circulating on social media of a very slimmed down, or apparently slimmed down, Derrick Lewis leading up to this fight. Ultimately on weigh-ins today, he was still 265, so there wasn't a whole lot of slimming down, and to me, he didn't really look that much different. I really don't know what happened to cancel that fight, but it is a possibility that the recurrence of back pain, even if it was mild, may have at least contributed to the cancellation. Maybe not the total cause of the cancellation, but maybe that was an issue there. Just speculation. Whatever the issue, I am confident that Derrick has some type of rehabilitation consultant or therapist present in his fight camps, focusing on addressing any sign of back pain before it becomes an issue. So what will I be looking for specifically in his upcoming fight that might indicate that he is struggling with back pain? I went back and watched the Mark Hunt fight. You can see signs of something happening with Derrick beginning in the second round, maybe late in the second round, but toward the end of the third round, it was unmistakable. His discomfort was obvious. Lewis began standing fully upright, fully erect, hands on his hips, in between periods of striking engagements with Hunt. The striking became really almost just defensive. There was no real offense focus to his striking. The muscle spasms in his back were particularly bad at that point, and any evasive movement from Lewis was shot. The surprising presence of leg kicks that he showed in the first and second rounds, that was gone as well. Now maybe this was just a heavyweight that was getting gassed as the fight progressed, but I think this is that third round, or the second round and into the third, was when he was really just becoming really crippled with that back pain. So as I mentioned, even though the back pain hasn't been a fight canceling problem for him in recent years, this is still something I watch. That Mark Hunt fight was really illustrative of the presentation he may show in this upcoming fight with Sergey Spivak. If he starts having problems with his back, watch for him to stand fully erect. Watch for him to just stop moving, drop his hands. These are the things that I will be watching for. Okay, moving on to a different topic, I want to talk about Aljamain Sterling. He is the UFC bantamweight champ, and he has alluded to a lingering biceps injury, maybe a partial tear that could be keeping him from fighting anytime soon. Especially true if he were to have decided on surgical treatment, which he has not at this point. On an Instagram post on Monday of this week, I believe, January 30th, he stated, "I'm getting the itch. Where do I sign?" It seems that he is moving on with his fight prep, but at the same time, he tweeted out that he would soon be leaving for Colombia to have stem cell treatments in an attempt to heal the biceps injury without surgery. So, in summary, he has fought his last couple of fights with this biceps injury. Obviously not a complete tear of the biceps, but partial tear. He has specified, or he had never really specified if it was the left or right biceps as the culprit. But when I watched him on a recent interview, where he was talking about the injury, he repeatedly glanced at his left arm, pointed toward his left elbow, which lets me think that it's probably the left biceps that's involved. Now, tendon injuries are notoriously slow to heal, and from Sterling's comments, this is holding true for him. And speaking specifically about stem cell treatments, the idea behind stem cell treatments is to boost that tendon's healing ability without surgery. Stem cells are those cells in our bodies that can differentiate into different types of cells within our body. Maybe cardiac cells or skeletal muscle cells. In the case of Sterling, that's what he's hoping for, or I should say tendon cells, tendon-specific cells. Those stem cells can generate into those specific cells. So you can see the obvious benefit if the stem cell injections help to regenerate a partially torn tendon. That's to his benefit. In Sterling's case, the idea is to use the stem cells to develop into what's called tenocytes. Tenocytes are the cells responsible for maintaining and restoring tendon tissue. He has a biceps tendon tear, so that's what he wants to promote, is the restoration of those tendon cells to rebuild the tendon tissue that's damaged. Stem cells are harvested in a few different ways. I believe the most common way right now is through use of bone marrow. So then the question is, why is he going to Colombia? I suspect that this is probably a treatment not covered by the UFC. It is very expensive, and the trip to Colombia could possibly be a mitigating thing that will help to mitigate or lower the cost, his out-of-pocket cost, by going out of the country. And now Sterling has said he wants to fight in May after he has had time for the healing that he hopes for with this stem cell treatment. Okay, that's it. Please, if you like the content that I'm putting out, please consider subscribing, sharing the content. Any help is appreciated, and I'll catch you next time.